Hello and welcome to My Retro Watches. If you're new to the channel, my name is Mike and I do hope you enjoy this video, and if you do, please give me a like, because likes mean everything to me. And of course consider hitting the subscribe button down there and the bell button next to it, and then you'll be alerted to any new content that I upload. With that out of the way, okay, we are now on to the rebuild of the 6309 Seiko 5000 subscriber giveaway. And in that time that I've started this, I've nearly got to 6,000 subscribers, and I haven't got a giveaway for 6,000 subscribers. So this will now be the 6,000 subscriber giveaway. Thank you to you all for subscribing. Thank you to you all for commenting. It's great to have the dialogue with you, the audience, and of course a little community going on. It's really, really good. I love it. Now, what we're going to do in this video is I'm going to cut to the bench shortly. I'm going to show you all the tools that I'm going to use, the oils I'm going to use, and we're just going to build the motion side. So just the train of wheels. We're going to put the barrel in and put the balance back on and get the thing actually running. Then we can put it on the timographer and we can test to see just how good or bad this movement is after cleaning, whether there's any wear that we can possibly see. I'm really hoping that it runs sweet. Really am. From the inspection, I think it's going to be okay. Just wanted to say one thing as well, because it seems to be a common question that's either been asked in the comments or people are emailing me, or even on Facebook for that matter, is you all seem to want to know how you remember where the parts go. And I think that's actually a very common question, and it's a good question. And the answer is you kind of learn it, really. A lot of watches, whether they're Swiss, whether they're Japanese or even Russian, everything follows the same basic principle. It's just how they've designed it or how they use different springs and things like that. So you do get an idea very quickly of where parts would go. But of course, the other thing that when I first started out was I'd take lots and lots of photographs. So every part that came off, I'd take a photo on my phone of the movement and of the part. And then at the end of it, you've got a sort of a backwards photo library to go through as you're putting the parts back on. The great thing though, and this is why I do push Seiko a lot, certainly to anyone that's beginning, is that Seiko have a lot of service manuals that are online. They're on Facebook groups like my own. They're on websites everywhere. And you can just type in the name of the movement. So say for instance 6309 into Google, put 6309 service manual, and you would find it. I am going to leave a link down below because I've got it already uploaded onto my website, of which you will be able to download should you want to. The service manual is great. It is just like an explosion drawing. So it shows you where all the parts are, it shows you where the oil should go, and there'll be some text to follow along to as well. Very, very good. Of course, you have to have a little bit of knowledge, I suppose, but essential, again, when you're starting out. So without further ado, we'll cut to the bench. Like I say, I'm going to show you the tools. Okay, now we're on the bench. You're just looking at my mat here. Of course, these are the parts to start with that we're going to be using to build the motion side. The main plate is already in the holder, ready to rock. Now, I don't really need too many tools, if I'm honest. Set of screwdrivers. I actually use these A&F set. I think these are about 50 quid, 50 pounds that is, sorry, for this particular set, but you don't need to. You can get away really with the yellow, black and red and grey. They're the ones that I seem to use more than anything else. Now, I've also got some tweezers. Any tweezers will do. Better quality, the better results. I use these Durmont, and they are quite expensive, but they are very, very good. Some pegwood, some Rodico, which is like this, like blue tack. Finger cots. So I've got a set of 3 finger cots for me because I'm left-handed. They're for my right hand, so I can touch some of the parts should I need to. Then I've got 2 oilers, Bergen oiler. Black one is the main one I will be using, and then the oils themselves. Now it looks like I've got a whole load of them. You can get away if you were just starting out with one oil. You could even get away with one that's called Mobius, I think it's 8000, which is what I started with, and I did try and find it for this video, but for the life of me I have no idea where I put it. But I'll sort of start with these two. These are what you use on a mainspring barrel, so I use this on the barrel wall itself, which is Mobius 8217, and that's for automatic barrels because it stops them from slipping. And then I use this Mobius 8200 to oil the mainspring itself. Now again, it looks quite daunting. Already you need two separate oils. Not necessarily true. You could just get some grease for the barrel wall if you were doing barrels, and then use 9010 for the spring itself. So push those to one side. The main ones I really use, this one is the most widely used, and that's the Mobius 9010 synthetic, and that is a very good oil. And then along with Mobius D3, and the difference is, to me, I mean, I don't know the ins and outs of the oils, but basically this is a lot thicker and that's a bit thinner. You use the thicker for places that are either taking excessive friction, or you want the oil to stay in place in the right place for longer, i.e. the keyless works, where you need some decent oil. The last oil is not really necessary. 9415, I use that on the pallet jewels. That's the only place I use that for. It's pallet jewel oil. I'm a bit further down the rabbit hole than many people, I suppose, who are just tinkering, so I've got every oil going. But really, you don't need all of those to get a result. It's only if you get into the hobby like I have, then you want more and more, and you want to get better and better, so you end up buying more of the stuff. But if you're starting out, please, you can do this on a very low budget if you want to. It's all about buying things, enjoying what you're doing, and building the confidence up, and then the natural progression is to want better things. So there we are. That's the bench, the tools I'm going to use. So I'm going to set up the camera now, and we'll actually start the assembly. Right, okay, we're finally going to start building, and the first part to fit is the centre wheel. Now, there was a problem with the centre wheel, and I didn't show it in the last video, but basically in between the disassembly and the cleaning, I then inspected the parts, and I found that the centre wheel was missing a whole bunch of teeth. And I'm just going to cut to a quick video now of that under the microscope, and then when we come back we'll start properly with the video. What we're looking at here is the centre wheel from the original watch itself. Now, before I did the cleaning video, I inspected the parts in between the disassembly and then doing the cleaning video, and this is what I found with the centre wheel, that it is missing a lot of teeth, as you can see at the top, and some of them are bent as well. Now, what causes that is a really good question, because I really don't know. This does engage with the barrel, so maybe the barrel slipped, but I have really no idea why those teeth are missing. But clearly it's not through fatigue because of the bent one, so it's coming to some force at some point. But don't worry, because I have got a donor one out of all the parts that I've got, which you actually did see in the last video. So far the only parts that we've had to replace are the centre wheel and the escape, or the pallet, sorry, itself. There we are. Okay, so that was the horror of the centre wheel, but of course the new one is absolutely fine. Now that needs to be fitted in the centre, of course, but first of all we want to oil the jewel with some 9010 is what I'm going to use. So I'm going to cut to the microscope now, just show you the little droplet of oil I'm going to put on there, and then we'll fit the part. Okay, so that's the centre jewel there, and I'm going to come in with my oiler and I'm just going to put a drop like that on the jewel. You could argue that it might be a little bit too much, but it is just a tiny amount. So there we go, the jewel is oiled, and now all we have to do is fit the center wheel itself, and we just drop it on like so, and then we have the center wheel bridge, which is the next part, and the bridge will just sit like so. And the bridge, if you remember on the disassembly video, has one screw and it is a flat top screw, and that will just fit in there like so. And then again, excuse my fingers, I have said that I'm going to try and do a B-roll at some point with different camera angles, but the trouble is I've only got 2 cameras and one of them is on the microscope at all times at the moment for this build, so you'll have to bear with me looking at my fingers. Now that is fitted, all you want to do is just obviously just check it with a bit of pegwood, just make sure that that's moving nice and freely. Right, the next thing to fit is the barrel, and I did do a video of putting the mainspring into the barrel, only once again I failed to press record, so unfortunately I saw it, you didn't, but I then did a little video on the microscope just to show you how it looked inside the barrel, so I'll cut again now to that video. Right guys, we're just back on the scope with the mainspring wound back into the barrel. Did have a bit of a mishap because I tried to film me winding it back into the barrel and I didn't press record. So it was all completely wasted. So I'm just putting on the microscope now because I wanted you to see inside. Now there is a bit of wear to the barrel itself at the bottom, as you can see, but that's quite typical. It looks bad, but it isn't really too far scorn into the metal, so I'm going to test it, you know, put the lid on, and when we build the movement we'll put it in and hopefully it'll run. If we get some anomalies, then of course I will change this, but in my eyes so far I don't think it's too bad given its age. It's just really unfortunate that you didn't catch me winding it in for you. So for those who might be interested, the grease that I use on the barrel wall is a Mobius, and it's 8217. It's a natural grease. And then for the main spring itself, which I oil in position, I just use another natural grease from Mobius, and that is 8200. So there we are, it's in, it's already oiled as well, so I can't even show you that, so I do apologise, but I have got a film in my video library on winding a mainspring in by hand. I know it's not to everybody's taste, but when you're starting out and you can't afford a spring winder, the only other thing you can do is use your fingers. So check out my other video, I'll leave a link above now and you can watch that if you so wish. Before we fit the barrel, we just need to give the arbor a little bit of Mobius D3. It's a high friction point. This is the bottom arbor that you can see here, and I'm going to come in with my oiler, and I just want to put a little bit on the side like so. And then I need to turn it over, and of course I want to do the same. Now I don't normally do this under the microscope, it's just trying to show you, you know, where you would want to put some of the oil. There we go. So we'll now go back onto the bench and fit it in its position. So we now need to drop the barrel in, and the hole goes at the top. And again, I'm just checking there to be sure that everything moves. And the next component will be the escape wheel, and the escape wheel has to fit, let me just point it out to you, has to fit in this jewel here. Now all you can do at the moment is rest it. As I say in lots of my videos, don't force any part. So at the moment I'm just going to put that in. It might sit on an angle, it might sit flat. It's not terribly important right now, but it will be very, very shortly. So now that's in, the next wheel is the third wheel, denoted by the 3 holes, and the gear side goes down. It's going to go in this hole right here, he says there. Okay, and again you can sort of check very loosely that everything is moving. Then we now need to put the 4th wheel in, or center wheel, and there's a jewel there, and I like to just put a little bit of oil on this jewel and also on the center wheel, which I'll bring in and try in vain to get it to photo. Look at the state of my finger cuts. How has that happened? So I need to oil this also just at the join, which I'll try again and do on the scope. Okay, this is the center wheel bridge jewel, and I'm just going to put a little drop like so, and the center wheel will then need oiling too. So we're just looking at the center wheel there, and as best I can get it, and you want to just oil just here. At least that is my understanding of the drawing. Sorry it's moving around so much, it's a really difficult thing to try and film that for you, but we'll go back onto the bench and put it in position. Okay, now we've oiled the center wheel, it's time to put it in the hole and drop it down gently like so, and the center wheel is fitted. And the next part is going to be the click, but before that I just wanted to quickly mention about oiling. So oiling is a very much a learnt skill. A lot of you ask how to do it, etc, etc, and to be honest I'm still very much learning myself. I find that a good quality oiler such as the Bergen, they're not that expensive, to be honest, the hand ones, and the thinner the better. Like the black one is the smallest, I think. So get a decent oiler, and then practice on a piece of glass or something where you can see the droplets, and then try and come into the oil well either vertically, and then do the same vertical motion on the piece of glass, and then obviously at a slight angle. Different speeds as well into the oil well will give you different types of or amounts on the oiler itself. So you can practice all this and then try and get it into your memory, so when you do come to oil you've got a good idea. That said, I inevitably fail. Certainly when I'm trying to do it on camera, I tend to think that I'm still oiling way too much, but then I think if it's your own watch it doesn't really matter that much, unless you're putting serious amounts on where it could contaminate the whole component and then get sticky with time and cause drag. If it's just a little bit of excess, I don't think it's too bad. Obviously you want to try and perfect the skill, and the only way to perfect the skill is by doing it. So I've even tried building a watch without any oil at all, putting it on the timographer, taking the readings, and then oiling things one by one to see how much effect they have. And to be honest, as I'm doing this off the cuff, that doesn't sound like such a bad idea to do for a video. So I might put that one into my book, and stay tuned, that one may well come in the future. Okay, the next part is the click, and it has a little heel on the back here which goes in that hole down there, and you want to get it just right. Sometimes can be a little bit of an annoying part, and there we go. So the click is now installed, and the next part is the train wheel bridge, and in many respects this is the hardest part to fit. Okay, the train wheel bridge is a really awkward part, so I try to line it up a little bit and then get it to rest on top. And then what happens is the click tries to stay underneath it and hampers it a bit more. So I like to get in and put that in position. And then it is just a case of trying to fettle it in all the pivots into their respective holes. And all I'm trying to do here is gently move the barrel. Just try and move this into to see. So we can see it's rocking here, which is not desirable at all. And there we have it. So you can hear it. It sounds good. You can see the escape is moving. And then as soon as you've got that, quickly get at least one screw in. So as usual, apologies for my fingers. Once you've got one screw in, just give it a little test again, make sure, yeah. So the next one. Now the thing with screws, I guess, is tightness. I just do mine enough. It's just like a little feel. I really don't want to force them so they're really tight, because I think that puts too much pressure. Obviously 2 litres is not desirable. So it's just that a feel you have that you get to when it hits the bottom, and then you give it just a little bit more, maybe, you know, a quarter of a turn or something like that. Okay, so now with the bridge on, test again, you can kind of hear it. Now the next thing I like to do is to put the ratchet wheel on and the screw for the ratchet wheel, and then we can turn the mainspring and just make the train run a little bit and see if it runs okay. Sometimes you can hear them whizzing away and they sound like they're going fast and slow, and then you clearly know that you've got a problem. So sound at this point is quite important, because it will give you the diagnosis of how healthy or not healthy the rebuild is going. So the ratchet wheel is this, and it's got a square opening to it, and that will just fit on top of the barrel arbor. There we go. And it is the largest screw. I do need my bigger screwdriver for that. And then with the ratchet, so once you've got it, it'll then always want to wind the spring. You can't really see this now. Let's just try and change the angle. Maybe a different screwdriver. No, I can't show it you. So you can hear that's whizzing away, but you want to just nip up the screw a little bit more. So I hold the barrel with my peg wood and just try and give it a half a turn. Sorry, not the barrel, but to hold the ratchet wheel. And that gives it enough. And now I'll put some wine, just say a turn, half a turn into the screw, and listen. So I'm pretty pleased with that sound. That sounds really, really good. So the next thing to do is to install the pallet fork, but before I install the pallet fork I need to oil it. So once again, we're going to go over to the microscope even. Okay, you're looking at the exit jewel on the pallet fork, and I need to oil that ever so slightly on the end, and I'm going to use the Mobius 9415 for this. Now again, if you're just starting out, you don't need to oil this. This is just for perfection, and it will go out of focus slightly with my eyes, possibly, and the angle of approach is not too great either. So hopefully you saw that. I can't get it in focus for you. There's a little drop on the end there, and that is sufficient. There is an argument for doing the other jewel as well, but I only ever do the exit jewel. So now I'm going to install the pallet fork into the movement, and I'm also going to do that on the microscope because it's a little bit easier, and certainly to show you the placement. Okay, what we're looking at there is the pallet jewel next to the escape, and I've just got to drop it into that. Now I remember doing my first one of these on a Seiko 6309, 6119, beg your pardon, and this procedure by a loop probably took me over half an hour. And there you go, straight in, and then line it up sort of straight there, and then all we've got to do is put the cock on the top. And then you know when it's kind of hit home. I didn't realise we were in blur there again, sorry guys. So we know it's at home because we can see the pivot jewel there, and this is always a telltale sign. If it doesn't rock on either side, you know it's in. So I'll come back to the bench, we'll put the screws in, then we can put the balance on and see if this thing is going to run. Okay, back on the bench, we're going to fit the two screws to the pallet cock, and then we can install the balance, and that is going to be almost the moment of truth. Now apologies if there's been a bit of a sound issue. I've got one microphone and I'm trying to use two phone cameras actually, and I keep forgetting to swap the microphone over from one to the other, so sometimes you're listening to me through the microphone, which you are now, and other times it's the actual phone's inbuilt microphone, and you get a different tone and everything. So apologies for that. I ain't a professional at anything by the looks of it. So here we go. Right, so the pallet cock is now installed, screwed down, and what I like to do is test it. And to test that, we first of all need to put some wind into the mainspring. So I'm just going to turn the screw on top of the ratchet wheel, put some good power into it. I'm going to zoom in as far as I can, and then you can see it just here, and all we're looking for is for it to flick freely from side to side with just a little nudge. Like so. And there we know that the train is at least working and holding all the power in. So now it's time to install the balance and see if this thing will tick for the first time in God knows how long. So I'm just going to zoom out. Okay, fitting the balance, we just bring it in, slide it into position, or as near to position as we can. And then there we go, look, it's running. It's running. Right. Okay, well, I didn't really think it wouldn't, to be honest with you, but it's really, really good to see. And I'll tell you, this is why I do this, because just to see it run again. Any watch that I fix, I love it. I absolutely love it. It's the feeling I get now. I find addictive. Look at that. The amplitude looks pretty good. I'm quite surprised by that. Now I'm just going to tighten up the screw, of course. So there we go. Let's just see if you can see it a bit better. That is looking good. That is looking really, really, really good. So maybe the major hurdle over with. So I think what we'll do now is we'll oil the pivots on the top and also on the bottom, and then we'll go onto the timographer and we'll get its first reading. No doubt it's going to be out of sync a little bit, but let's see. I'm ecstatic, I really am. So next shot, we're back on the microscope. We're going to be using Mobius 9010 for the pivots, and there's 3 on the top here to do, and there's a couple on the bottom also. So hopefully this is still in the middle for you guys. It's a little bit out of focus for me, but there. Hopefully, let me come out and look with my eyes, and I also need to put my glasses on, sorry. So what we can see there, or hopefully you can see, is a perfect sort of droplet in the middle. That's about all you need. I was lucky, did it on the first attempt. So I'm quite pleased with myself. Now the next thing to do is to actually take this, the Chatham, and then I need to turn that around, turn it over. I'm trying to do this with my naked eye now, which is even worse. So have it turned over, and there's the jewel. And I want to pick it up and then place it. Didn't really want to do it like that because that will... You generally want to place it straight on the center, and then we can turn that over, and there we are. The jewel is in its position because the oil has helped it stay there. It wasn't ideal the way I dropped it on. You want to try and get it dead center when you're putting it on, because that keeps the oil in one place, but I was trying to do that on camera with my naked eye, looking at the my phone screen rather than through the eyepiece, to try and keep it in focus for you. So that's my excuse, at least. Hopefully you understand now how to oil these particular jewels. I'm now going to put this particular one into the main plate. I'll show you how I put the little spring back on it, and then the other jewel I'll do separately and put on the balance, and I'll do that off camera because it's pointless showing you it twice. Okay, we're now looking at the calendar side of the main plate. There's nothing attached to the main plate at this stage, and the jewel and the setting that I've just oiled are going to fit. You just drop them into there nice and gently, making sure it's all in one place. And then we have to bring in the little spring clip or retaining clip, whatever you want to call it. These are horrible, I won't lie, I don't particularly like them. And first of all, I've got it on a bit of roddy code so I can just get it into position. And then I'm going to have to use the microscope and my eyes. So you can see here there's a little cutout, and that's what you're aiming for with these. I've got a feeling this one is actually needing to be the other way around. Looking at it, they should be flat in all fairness, but I've got a feeling this one is just slightly bent, and as you can see I've had it fly off, but fortunately by luck I can still find it, and believe you me, that is lucky. So again, we'll get it into position. Now I'm still not convinced that that's the right way. As I say, I've never normally had to worry about these. There we go. Right, so it's in position, and now all we want to do is get 2 sets of tweezers, get one end in like so, get 2 in, keep turning it, gently does it, and when you get to the 3rd you just need to tuck it in like so. And maybe we've just lost a touch of focus, it's hard for me to tell again because I've got my glasses off. So if that was blurry or not, I don't know. Hopefully you saw that. I'll find out soon enough in editing. They are a little bit tricky at first when you do them, but once you get used to them they're pretty straightforward. They're just a bit earth-shatteringly nervously because they like to fly off, as you saw. So there we go. That is how to do the jewel settings on many of these 6 series Seikos. Okay, here we are on the microscope, and you're looking at the 3 pivots here. The jeweled one is the escape, and the other 2 are part of the train wheels. So again, Mobius 9010, and I'm just going to offer the oiler up to the first well. There we go. See if we've got enough left on it for that one. Just a little tad more. And then the escape. There we go. So that's those 3 oiled, and we're just going to flip it over now and do the other side. Okay, here we are on the bottom face, and just wanted to quickly show you the one in the middle of the screen here now is the pallet fork jewel, and you don't want to oil that, and there's a reason really. It's the trade-off basically. The pallet is really important, it's very, very sensitive, so if it gets a little bit of dirt on it, it's going to really impede the performance of the watch. So oiling that, certainly at the start, not going to have any problem at all. But in years to come, when the oil starts going hard or starts losing its viscosity and getting a bit thicker, that's just going to slow that pallet fork right down, and it's going to stop it. And that's the general rule, as far as I'm aware, as to why you don't really want to oil the pallet fork jewels. So the only jewels we got are the 2 here, because of course the other one is the center wheel, which is coming through in the middle of your screen there, which we put the cannon pinion on, which I'm going to do in a moment as well, because I just feel it always worth putting that on while we're here. So we'll start with this little well. Oops. I think that was okay. I went in there a little bit early for me because I wasn't quite in focus. And then the second one. It's probably not in focus for you now. I really do need to get some new eyes, because that way there wouldn't be any trade-off. I can't really look at my phone screen to do this. It feels really alien. Okay, so just while we're here, like I say, the cannon pinion rests on here. And the reason I like to fit this now is, well, 1, because it's here in front of us, but 2, it also gives a bit of extra protection when you're messing around, because the center wheel staff, if you like, is here, and that's what you put the seconds hand on, and it's a little bit vulnerable because it sticks up and it's quite small and fragile, so any little false move or wrong move and you could knock that, you could break it, and all your hard work that you put in so far would be lost. This also does need oiling, and because it's a high friction point, we need to use the D3. And I like to put it in 2 places. So I like to put a little bit on the side, like so. Not too sure again if you saw that very well. And then I also put I don't think it's in the manual necessarily, but I just put a little bit on the jewel as well at the bottom. Because sometimes cannon pinions can be quite stiff, and I tend to find that extra little bit of oil just at the bottom there just helps. So then I bring in the cannon pinion, fit it over the top. Again, trying to get this in focus for you guys. I can probably do this actually on the screen. And I'm just going to get my tweezers either side of it and then push down till it clicks. And there you go. Cannon pinion is now fitted. So right, okay, I'm going to break down the camera now and get it ready for putting this on the timograph, and let's just see what reading we're going to get. I'm still really excited if you can't already tell that. So next shot will be on the desk. Okay, here's the moment we've all been waiting for, I suppose, to put it on the timographer and see just how it's going to run. I have no idea. I'm a little bit nervous because as much as it looks okay, I'm suspecting that, well, maybe, I don't know, maybe we'll have some errors. So let's switch the thing on. And I'll go quickly through the settings. First of all, I want to mute it because the noise it makes really drives me insane. And then we need to go into here. And I need to set the lift angle to 54.5, like so. And then I need to get the movement carefully positioned in the timographer. Like so. You can't really see that. Let me see if I can bring it in a bit. Okay, so now we're going to let it go and we'll see what we get. So we're getting a trace and it looks a little bit noisy. First of all, I'll just turn the sensitivity down a little bit. Right, so that looks very erroneous to me. We haven't got an amplitude, which means it's trying to calculate it, which would suggest to me that the amplitude is running very low. Beat error 5.5, that's also quite drastic, although the lines wouldn't suggest that that's a beat error to me. It would normally be a lot further apart. And the rate is the rate, it can easily be changed. So the beat error and the rate I can deal with, I can set those. Again, there doesn't now look to be too much noise going on. However, amplitude, when there we go, just come in. So 166, that's weak. There's no two ways about it. And for those who don't know, amplitude is the swing of the balance. So it's the degrees in which it swings from tick to tock, if you like. And the bigger the number, the healthier. Now, Seikos are traditionally quite low amplitude movements, and for a movement like this, you'd expect or want to achieve in and around 200. I mean, 230 would be maximum kind of thing. So I was hoping to get sort of 200 or 190 something, because you can always tweak them a little bit to get them better, but 166 would clearly indicate that there is not enough kick in the pallet fork to swing the balance. Now, there could be a whole host of reasons for that. That could be the train wheels, could be dirt. I can rule out dirt as far as I'm concerned. The train wheels, on examination, they looked okay. Could be the power of the mainspring. Now, obviously, you saw inside the mainspring, and perhaps the mainspring is too tired. So it could be just the fact that that's not kicking out enough power to start with, because I cleaned this to within an inch of its life as far as I was concerned. So, excited that it's running, yes. That it's got low amplitude, I'm a little bit disappointed. Now, I'm going to have to fault find this, and that's going to not be something I can film right this moment, because it means I'm going to have to try and take it apart. So I think what I will do is finish this video here. At least you can see we've made progress. So the watch is running. So the doubters out there who didn't think this would run, I can assure you that everything in there is from this watch, other than the center wheel and the other part that we changed. What was the other part we changed? The pallet fork, of course. So they're the only two parts that are any different in here. Everything else is original. So I'm very pleased that it is running. The fact that we are getting a decent line, albeit erroneous. If it was all sort of like a scrambled snowstorm, I'd be really worried. But this would indicate to me that it is kind of running okay. So it's just ironing out what that problem is. So I think what I'll do, like I say, is end the video, and then I might do some sort of other video or an update video very shortly with the progress, what I might find. And we'll resolve this one way or another. I've got a plethora of parts, so even really if this watch ends up just being the main plate, I assure you I am going to make sure that this thing is running and running well. So okay, thank you very much for watching. I really do hope you did enjoy this video and perhaps you learned something along the way. Please give me a thumbs up, you know I like them. Also leave a comment below if you've got to the end of the video, because statistically, according to the analytics behind YouTube, everybody only watches about 10 minutes. So I don't know whether you're all watching in segments or whether you watch the first 10 minutes and give up. It's interesting for me to know. Don't forget, join the Facebook group, Retro and Vintage Watches and Restorations. Plenty of information in there, plenty of guys happy to help. And also Mark Lovick's group, which is the Watch Repair Lessons Facebook group. I've said that wrong, but there will be a link below. That's also a very useful place, up and coming place. It's only just started. So I'll catch you in the groups, and I'll certainly catch you in the next video. Thanks very much for watching.